when teams have given him pressure with extra guys this season?
Well, probably like most, young quarterbacks, there's some times where they've, made some plays and gotten the ball out of their hand or scrambled. I mean, he's a good athlete. He's a strong player. And then there's probably been some times where, he'd like to have made a better decision.
John Glennon.
Well, Mike, question, how are you?
Great.
Good. One question on Isaiah. I know at the end of last week, obviously a little disappointment that, he hadn't been able to make it through and just got the 1 day of practice. Do you feel like this week, getting a few days in there, was at least a sign of some progress? And did you see anything you liked in that regard?
There's always things that, that we like. There's things that we have to continue to improve on all areas, as players and coaches and how we prepare, how we meet, So Isaiah's kind of in line with that group of everybody that needs to continue to improve and get back out there. The schedule wasn't very good to him as far as his return. And, now that he's been able to have some practice, we're showing signs that we're getting back into it.
Sure. And on Adoree', I know he'd been out there for a couple weeks and didn't see him out there today. Just wondering, is that any kind of a setback, or is that more like a maintenance thing for Adoree'?
Just the decision that we made with Todd and training staff and Frank about, what was best for Adoree' today.
Thank you.
Terry.
Mike, the bye week kind of was odd for you guys, to say the least. And usually that's a time to self-evaluate and kind of take inventory of what needs to be improved on. How have you been able to do that, or have you been able to do that since you've gotten back into the swing of things? And going forward, do you think you'll figure out ways to kind of do those things?
I think, Terry, we're always, looking at what we do and how we get better. And, I don't think that necessarily falls in line with the bye week. You may have a little longer, more time or more opportunity to do some of those things. But, I think that we try to do that on all three phases and evaluate what we're doing coming after each game and what we have to improve on, whether we win or whether we lose.
Buck.
Hey, Mike, with young guys like Roberson and David Long, how have they kind of progressed over the course of the season, and how can they help contribute to what you guys are doing on game day more?
Well, as backup players, it's important to have vital, important, critical roles on special teams. It's also important to have versatility, to be able to play more than one position. Those are decisions that we make, just when you go into the game about how to get guys there. Those are two young players that, we're excited about working with, and continue to practice and try to get those guys, some snaps. And that's the challenge of trying to get a roster and form a roster each and every week on the games.
Chris.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Great.
Good. I want to ask you about A.J. Brown. So, when you draft a guy, what goes into the projections that you may have on how quickly a player can make an immediate impact? And then for him, where did he fall, and what has he done over the year and a half that he's been with you guys to show that he is such an impactful player?
I think you just try to identify guys that, probably have maybe played in some meaningful games, have done it at a consistent level in college, their durability. It's always a transition, so you never want to try to, guarantee that this particular player is going to come in and have success, or maybe take a little longer time. And again, we're conscious of that. We understand that it takes some players longer to develop into this level than it does others. What their strength is like, what some guys mature at different times, different ages. Some guys are a lot more prepared and ready to handle that transition. And in particular case for AJ, I think it probably took him, a little bit, to get going. I don't think it was like, something that was amazing from the get-go. We made him earn his spot, and he got in there and continued to work and develop, and I think he continues to do that now.
And as far as his toughness level, Mike, what have you seen from him?
What kind of tough? I mean, I guess what kind of toughness are we trying to define here?
Sure. I just meant like let's take, for instance, the last couple of weeks, maybe playing through the pain and getting ready to go, and then toughness level during a game, going up and winning 50-50 balls, yards after, all that stuff.
I think that everybody admittedly isn't 100% at this point in the season. So if we waited till everybody was 100%, we'd have a tough time fielding the roster on game day. But AJ does the necessary things to get out there and has been available for us the last couple of weeks and been impactful and made an impact in the games. And then I think just the physical toughness, he has no issues going inside. That's something that, he doesn't flinch when he goes in there and, takes advantage of that, quite frankly. I think he's strong after the catch, and it doesn't appear to me to flinch when he goes inside.
David Beauclair.
Mike, did you learn anything going through those last 3 games which were at a condensed amount of time, that maybe you can use to set your practice schedule the next couple weeks, now that you've got another 3-game stretch here in a little less than 2 weeks?
Yeah, we've had that stretch before. We've done that. I think it was 3 games in 11 days. So that's been done. We just basically see who's available, see how guys feel, and structure the practices accordingly. We've been through different scenarios, David, in the last, 2.5 years that we've been here as far as scheduling. So we try to draw on that and use those days to try to, set the schedule going forward.
Is it easier to sort of dial back practices in favor of rest these days, given that you have a bunch you've been with and have, been through the wars with now for a while?
I don't ever look at it like that. Because the opponent, is different each week. The challenge is different each week. And so whether we're, walking through more, maybe before coming off of going to a Sunday to a Thursday game, maybe a lot more walkthroughs or jog through, coming off of a week that we were, had 2 close games, like the Houston and the Buffalo and the Houston game. Guys were, pretty sore, tired, and so we probably maybe jogged through a little bit more, but taking advantage of whatever those reps are and trying to be a professional enough to do the walkthrough and get something out of it. And that's the challenge, that how can you continue to improve without the luxury of full speed reps? And that's something we talked about at the end of last year, and certainly we'll continue to talk about. Is we can't go 3 straight days of full practice. That doesn't happen anymore. That's not probably realistic. So how do we clean up the details and improve without the luxury of as many full speed reps?
Tehran.
Yeah, Coach, you have this game coming off a really big one last week. What is the key? Because you guys never really seem to have like those letdown games. What's the key to making sure that each week you come out and you put your best effort forward?
That's all our job is, to go out and play as hard as we can, as well as we can against every opponent. You know what I mean, we try to show them tape, start fast, show them clips of Indy being down 21-0 at home, fumbling on the second play, letting them run the football on them, push them around, and then come back and, go 3 and out, punt. Bengals go down the field, hit a big play, get it down to the 3, score again. It's 14-0.